Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 8:07. It's O'Connor and Company, and I'm back from vacation. Thank you to Andrew Langer for filling in the gaps while Julie Gunlock and Patrice Onwuka did all the heavy lifting, keeping the show flying along at the level and standard that you have come to expect from your mornings here in the nation's capital. Thank you, Julie. Good morning. It's good to be back.
Good morning. We missed you. Glad you're back.
I missed being here, and I missed you personally as well. Joining us right now, Ron Vitiello. He is the former acting deputy commissioner of U.S. Customs and Border Protection. We like to call him CBP. To talk about a couple of things going on with investigations, specifically, Ron, about these children who were missing during the Biden administration. Do we have a final count? By the way, I keep hearing from Factor, oh, that's debunked, that's not true, children aren't missing. We have a lot of missing children who HHS has admitted under oath that they've lost track of these kids, right?
100%. Thanks for having me on the program. Yeah, the number is in excess of 500,000. I think officials, it's like 560-some thousand.
Lord have
that
mercy.
came during the Biden administration, and that Biden's own HHS Office of Inspector General reported that they failed to do sponsor safety checks for a significant number of those children. They failed to use the FBI fingerprint data about sponsors, right? So when a kid comes into the United States illegally without their parents, they're placed on a path that puts them in an HHS shelter. The function of that shelter is to place that child with a family or a guardian in the U.S. So 19% of the 560,000 who were placed, the FBI data about child endangerment occurring at the hands of these sponsors was not put in the child's file, right? So think about what that means. That means they came into the country illegally looking for a better life, and they were placed with a known pedophile. 19% of the time, that data was not put in their file. 35% of these kids' cases, the sponsors didn't have identification. So the U.S. government had no official record produced by a jurisdiction in the U.S. of this person's identification. So that it's essentially a stranger from a foreign land who nobody knows who they are. They didn't do home wellness checks on these kids in a significant number, and 5% of the cases, the management system just didn't have any idea of the welfare of these kids.
Absolutely.
Here's the good news. Here's the good news. The number of kids who are coming to the border unaccompanied are mostly from Mexico now, since January 20th. Those kids are placed back with their parents in most cases, and with the help and coordination of the Mexican government. So this problem is much smaller than it was, but the 23,000 kids that have been found because the Trump administration has restructured the follow-up activity of sponsors and kids that are placed in the United States that had been placed by the Biden administration by using a war room at HHS that is informed by the FBI, the U.S. Marshal Service, the National Institute for Missing and Exploited Children, and ICE, who are now vetting sponsors that kids were placed with under the Biden administration and holding those criminals to account if they traffic those kids. And so the nonsense about what happens at the border every day is over because of the way the physical border looks now. And these kids are being protected not only today and every day, but retroactively, those that were placed under the Biden administration.
Ron, I recall a couple of weeks ago there was an attempt to repatriate some of those children and reunite them with their parents, and a federal judge here in the United States put a stop to that, which I was sort of like, wait, I thought we're supposed to be concerned about families being torn apart, but apparently they threw that out. What is the status of that? Were those children that were part of that plane load of children that were being sent back to their families, did they ever get reunited, or is that still on hold?
Well, it's on hold, unfortunately, because these activist judges, who are more activists than they are judges, have blocked the Trump administration attempt. Look, think about how this all works. These folks are in HHS custody. Between ICE and the State Department, they cooked a deal with the Guatemalan government, who contacted parents and said, hey, would you like your children back? They spoke to these individual children and said, look, there's not a path here for you to be reunited with your family if you stay in the United States. You'll be placed with a guardian or in foster care, a guardian or within foster care. Would you rather go back? They all raised their hand and said yes. And this judge, who thinks they're smarter than both the Guatemalan government, the Guatemalan parents, and the U.S. government interagency, this judge blocked the ability for these kids to be reunited at home.
Ron, people hear this and get absolutely outraged that this happened, and it was the government who allowed this to happen. In more ways than one, first they allowed the crisis so that these children could be exploited in the way that they were, sometimes by drug traffickers, human traffickers, coyotes. Sometimes their families were naive and taken advantage of, I think, and sent their own children into harm's way, whatever the circumstances. They hear about this, they recognize that the government dropped the ball, and they want accountability. I mean, is this if I'm looking at the numbers here, 23,000 children have been recovered now, but they found out that 27 of these children, these minors, were found dead, either by murder, suicide, or drug overdose. The people want accountability. I mean, if through the Biden administration's negligence, these children are now dead, is there anybody who will be held responsible for this?
That's an interesting question. Yes, of course, the people who did those dastardly acts to these kids will be prosecuted in those local jurisdictions. But you're right. The Biden administration willfully encouraged this problem to get as big as it did. It's because of their lack of diligence at the border. One of the first things that the Biden administration did when they took over was they ended rapid DNA testing that was used at the hands of Border Patrol and ICE to make sure that kids that were traveling with parents that the agents suspected were not their own children, that they were being smuggled or they were being used to be let into the United States because the Biden administration was encouraging this activity. They ended DNA testing in the early days of the Biden administration. You'll remember one of his first acts was to put a moratorium on removals and deportation, thereby encouraging families to send their children or families to come with their children. That accountability, unfortunately, is going to be lost to us because the fake president, the auto president is gone. Thankfully, we have a new president, a real president, and a real border czar that's taking on these issues to make sure it's not happening now.
Ron Vitiello, thank you so much for giving us an update on this, and hopefully we'll get more children recovered. There's plenty more to go. Thank you, sir.
Amen. Thank you.